take this gavel and that legislative day number 21 will now come to order. As we pause for a moment of silent meditation, I would ask that you all remember or take a moment to please remember the passing of former U.S. Senator Robert Dole. Senator Dole was among the last of the greatest generation.
Yeah.
He was severely wounded in World War II, then served in the House and Senate from Kansas for almost 40 years.
Hmm.
He ran as a candidate for vice president and president, but he will always be remembered as a great patriot and statesman.
Very nice.
And on that note, I will now call upon Councilman Wade Katz. Well, let's take a moment of silent meditation. Thank you very much. I'll now call upon Councilman Katz, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Well, the flag's behind me, but so you'll see my back.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Katz. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of October 18th?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the journal?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, the journal is approved. Enrollment of bills. Bills 89-21, 90-21, 91-21, 92-21, 93-21, 94-21, and 95-21 were passed by the council, signed by the executive, and hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, will you now read all bills for introduction?
Mr. Chairman, there is only one bill for introduction this evening, Bill 104-21, being submitted at the request of the administration, entitled Personnel Law of Baltimore County Corrective Bill. This bill is on something of a fast track, so it will be discussed at the work session next Tuesday, the 14th, and voted on the 20th. So the measures that are in the bill can apply January 1st, so that county employees get their proper pay.
Okay, that it's very important that they get their proper pay. The council will now consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, first bill, please.
Mr. Chairman, Bill 96-21, Current Expense Budget Recycling Partnership Grant Agreement.
Okay, Ms. DeAndrea Walker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of private funds from the Recycling Partnership totaling $350,000 to the Recycling Partnership Grant Agreement Gifts and Grant Fund Program. The funds will be used toward the cost of installing polypropylene plastic recycling sorting equipment at our central acceptance facility. This machine is needed because humans are unable to visually identify polypropylene on the sorting line. So the plastics go through the line unsorted and into the contamination bunker for landfilling. Back in March, we performed material sort at the recycling facility and found that an average of 436 pounds per hour could be recovered. This could be a realization of annual revenues totaling $232,000 after the installation of this sorting equipment. The grant commences upon council approval and continues for 5 years. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the members? Mr. Secretary, is there an amendment to Bill 96-21?
There is a technical amendment, Mr. Chairman. The bill states that the funds are being made available to the county through the Recycling Partnership Incorporated. The amendment would just clarify in several places in the bill that these funds are made available through private funds.
Okay, any questions or comments from the member? Is there a motion to approve the amendment to Bill 96-21?
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the amendment to Bill 96-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Guys have it. The amendment to Bill 96-21 is passed. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve Bill 96-21 as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 96-21 as amended.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Guys have it. Bill 96-21 as amended is passed. The council will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on November the 30th. The witnesses who testified at the work session are available to restate their testimony if needed. If a council member has any questions regarding a particular fiscal matter, that item will be discussed as a separate fiscal matter. Fiscal matter 4 will be discussed separately. I will now call upon the secretary to read the cover letter for fiscal matters 1 through 3 and 5 through 11.
Mr. Chairman, fiscal matter 1 are two contracts for on-call traffic engineering services. Fiscal matter 2 is a contract with Rummel, Klepper, and Kahl LLP for on-call bridge inspection services. Fiscal matter 3 is a contract with Wallace Montgomery and Associates LLP, also for on-call bridge inspection services. Fiscal matter 5 is a contract with Johnson, Merriman, and Thompson for on-call potable water pipeline design services. Fiscal matter 6 is 2 contracts in connection with wellness recovery programs. Fiscal matter 7 is a contract with On Our Own Incorporated for the Peer Recovery Community Center. Fiscal matter 8 is a contract with Mental Health Association of Maryland Incorporated. Fiscal matter 9 is a contract with Hope Health Systems Incorporated. Fiscal matter 10 is a contract with Institute for Family Centered Services Incorporated. And fiscal matter 11 is a purchase order agreement with Light of Truth Center Incorporated.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Are there any questions or comments from the member?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm going to ask that fiscal, and I apologize for doing this late, that fiscal matter 2 be separated. I have a conflict of interest. I have to recuse myself from fiscal matter 2 from discussion or voting. My wife works for that firm, so.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
I think we might have thought that was it. I'll separate 2 and 4 just for to be safe, better safe than sorry.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Are there any questions on any other fiscal matters before we vote? Okay, we will be voting on fiscal matters 1 and 5 through 11. 1 and 5 through 11.
I believe also fiscal
3.
matter 3, Mr. Chair. Is that correct, Mr. Boswick?
I believe so.
Wait a minute. We're taking out 2 and 4. So 1,
Yes, sir.
3, 5, and 11. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on fiscal matters 1, 3, and 5 through 11? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 1, 3, 5 through 11.
I think unless we have already, we may need a motion and a second.
I'll move it.
Second,
Thank
Okay,
you.
it's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Fiscal matters 1, 3, 5 through 11 has passed and been approved. Mr. Secretary, please read fiscal matter 2.
Fiscal Matter 2 is a contract with Rummel, Klepper, and Kohl LLP for on-call design, bridge inspection services. And Fiscal Matter 4 is a contract with Wilson T. Ballard Company for on-call potable water pipeline design services.
Are there any questions or comments on fiscal matters 2 and 4? Is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 2 and 4?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 2 and 4.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Abstain.
Mr. Catch, Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused. I thought that when these issues came up, that either you or the secretary had said issues 1 to 3 and 5 to 13. So were we skipping 4 or?
Well, we initially were skipping 4.
But not,
Then Councilman Patoka indicated that he wanted to abstain on issue 2. But then we pulled out 2 and 4. And even though they were included in the initial description, except for 4, we pulled out 2 and we just voted on 2 and 4 by
And 4.
themselves.
so the intention was to vote on 4.
Yes,
Okay, that's all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Okay, so all the fiscal matters have been approved. Mr. Secretary, please read. Wait a minute. We will now consider all miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item.
Mr. Chairman, whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the county council and the nature and parties to the contract be announced by the secretary at the next legislative session following award of the contract. There are 11 such contracts on the agenda for stating this evening. The first is a master agreement with Collaborative Testing Services Incorporated, award total of $36,350. Next is a master agreement with Lake Enterprises Incorporated, doing business as Fesco Emergency Sales, parts and labor Rosenbauer Fire Apparatus, $960,000. Next is a master agreement with Quan Software Engineering Incorporated for subscription license, estimated award total $45,000. Next is a purchase order with Robert Half International Incorporated for temporary staffing services, $55,692. Next is a purchase order with Bibliotheca LLC for software through BCPL, award of $294,819. Next is a purchase order with Uber Physicians LLC, doing business as 5 Medicine for COVID testing services of county employees, award total of $8,228,112.81. Next is a master agreement with JotForm Incorporated for software form creation, award total of $500,000. Next is a purchase order with Bay Associates Group Incorporated, doing business as Combustion Services, for PVI water heater replacement, $126,870. Next is a purchase order with Rexel USA Incorporated for materials and rebuild of volunteer fire departments, Patapsco and Long Quarters, $715,916. Next is a purchase order with Rush Print Company LLC, doing business as Rush Trees and Signs, for individually wrapped masks related to COVID-19, $94,800. And the final matter is a purchase order with CF Properties Limited Liability Partnership for facilities rental for COVID-19, award total of $500,000. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the member? No? Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is Resolution 136-21. This is a resolution in support of a conditional loan through the Maryland Economic Development Assistance Fund, McCormick and Company Incorporated.
Okay, Ms. Kimberly Roten.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I'm here pinch hitting on behalf of Director Howie this evening. Lovely to see you all again. McCormick and Company is requesting a $2 million conditional loan from the Maryland Department of Commerce. The administration is requesting endorsement of this resolution, which supports the state's conditional loan as a requirement of the Maryland Economic Development Assistance Authority and Fund Loan Program. The county will provide a matching $200,000 conditional loan as required under the program. The loan will support construction of a new 1.8 million square foot state-of-the-art distribution facility at Trade Point Atlantic. The total project cost is an estimated $300 million, and the company anticipates officially opening the facility by Q2 or Q3 of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, go right ahead, Cal.
This resolution follows on a major amount of support from the administration and from the Baltimore County Council towards the continued success of Trade Point Atlantic. And this is not so much different than other measures that we've taken or endorsed to provide public sector investment into the project at Trade Point Atlantic, which has proven over the past 5 to 7 years that that public sector investment has paid off in dividends. And I appreciate the administration's work on this, and the Department of Economic Development, Workforce Development, in their efforts on making these things happen. Trade Point Atlantic has seen iconic Maryland companies locate in Baltimore County and in southeastern Baltimore County, southeastern Baltimore County, companies including Purdue and Under Armour, McCormick, and a few others that I'm probably missing mentioning, but this goes along with the program that I think the council and the administration has established to create an economic development and job center in southeastern Baltimore County. So I appreciate the council's support on this and the administration's work on endeavors like this. Thank you
very much, Councilman Crandall. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to tag team with Councilman Crandall and first congratulate Councilman Crandall. This is a great success. Our county exec's office, it's great success. I mean, what's happened at Trade Point? Can there be any better example of revitalization, incredibly good revitalization in the county? And also, I think about the late Kevin Cabinets. He recognized the reality a long time ago, said that we needed to think differently. And out of a lot of that, with thankfully Jim Davis and his capital and long-term vision as well, I mean, this has become exceptionally amazing place. And I think this will be a real nice MBA type of paper for many people in the future to look at TradePoint and how it went from really tough situation to revitalized through good public and private investments. So it's just great to see this. I'm happy to support it.
Councilman Quirk, you're so right. We all, most of us had an opportunity to sit by and view Al Park and watch what happened with TradePoint Atlantic. And if you lived in the area long enough, you remember the heyday of Bethlehem Steel and what happened to it. And it's good to see that this global logistics center has come out of the ground like the phoenix from the ashes of Bethlehem Steel and employing a lot of people.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Marks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your comments. And I just wanted to echo what Councilman Quirk said. I've said this repeatedly, government plays a role in economic development. You go back through American history, every wave of economic development was preceded by transportation and infrastructure investments. All the way back to the Transcontinental Railroad, and then up to the interstate highways and airports, government played a role. I think this council really made some smart investments in the infrastructure of TradePoint Atlantic. We were criticized by some, but I think those investments have really paid off. So I completely agree with Councilman Quirk and congratulate Councilman Crandall for this wonderful facility in his district.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment. It was my pleasure to take my colleagues, the other county administrative officers from across the state of Maryland, to TradePoint Atlantic when they visited in October. And the amount of feedback when they looked at the historical and the history of Bethlehem Steel, and then where we are in TradePoint Atlantic now, it is indeed one of those things that my colleagues marvel at. So congratulations for all the work that went in up front and I use that same analogy, Mr. Chair, the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's exactly what we called that part of the visit that day, about economic redevelopment. So all of the 18 of the 24 jurisdictions had a chance to visit, representatives had a chance to visit TradePoint Atlantic when they were here in October.
Great.
Mr. Chair, I have to add in, because everyone's spoken more eloquently than I have about this, and I know we're dealing with one endorsement of a state investment in the McCormick facility, but I just had the opportunity in the last week to visit TradePoint Atlantic as they lit what is known as the Bethlehem Star, which is I think it's 196 bulbs of a gigantic star that was part of Bethlehem Steel, and TradePoint Atlantic has taken it upon themselves to resurrect that piece of memorabilia and put it up. And if you cross the Key Bridge from Anne Arundel County over to into Baltimore County into the 7th District, you can see the Star of Bethlehem shining. And it's something that TradePoint Atlantic has taken very seriously. They've taken the history of the area very seriously. And I don't know if I've heard of or read of a corporation that takes the heritage of a community so seriously as they have. and in their progress economically and financially have also dedicated themselves to the preservation of the history of the site and what it means to the people of the 7th District, and not only 7th District, but the myriads of people and the generations that have worked at Bethlehem Steel and at the plant, including my own family. So again, just thankful for the continued public-private investment. I think this will be an example ultimately of something that is written about in how public-private partnerships work, and how you can actually recreate, as Ms. Rogers put it so poignantly, recreate something out of the ashes of basically something that hit ground bottom and came back from nowhere. And it's taken the Baltimore County Council and our General Assembly and our leadership in Annapolis to get to this point, and we're not done yet. I think there's still a lot more news to come out of Trade Point Atlantic and their ability to create jobs and create a commerce center and a logistics hub for the East Coast right here in Baltimore County. So thank you for all everyone's support on this.
You're certainly welcome. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve resolution 36-20? Wait a minute, is there an amendment?
I don't believe there is an amendment.
Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 36-21?
I'll move it.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 136-21.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Resolution 136-21 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is Resolution 137-21. This is a resolution sponsored by Councilman Quirk for the council's consideration of whether to overrule the decision of the Baltimore County Planning Board finding that there is no master plan conflict in the Davis Farms development plan. If I could just briefly sort of tee things up, Mr. Chairman, the reason that this is before the council, because normally the council really is not involved directly or indirectly in the development approval process, is because this matter Davis Farms development plan came before the council in February or January, and the administrative law judge sitting as hearing officer denied the development plan on several grounds, one of which included a conflict with the master plan. Eventually, as the statute requires, that determination that issue was forwarded to the planning board for its determination and decision. This occurred in September and October of this year, and at the October, I believe, 6th meeting, the planning board found that the Davis Farms development plan did not conflict with the master plan. And as I indicated, normally the council would not be involved in the development approval process, but in the statute, in the relevant statute, in section 32.4232F, where it states that the planning board decision is final and lists an exception, it states that the decision of the planning board on an issue referred to it is binding upon the hearing officer and shall be incorporated as part of the hearing officer's final action on a plan. There is also another provision in that subsection that says that the decision of the planning board is not binding on the hearing officer if the decision of the planning board is overruled by action of the county council. So that is where we find, that is where the council finds itself, and the resolution asks the county council to consider whether or not to overrule that. It is worded, because it has to be worded either one way or the other, it is worded that if the resolution passes, the decision of the planning board would be overruled by the council, and therefore the planning board's determination of a master plan conflict would of no master plan conflict would not be binding on the hearing officer. If the resolution fails, then the decision of the planning board of no master plan conflict is binding on the hearing officer and shall be incorporated into the hearing officer's eventual order. So I think that is where we find things at this moment, and I'll yield the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I know there's a little bit of complexity to this, and I know this is not something that county council really seen at all, really. And so I just wanted to follow up on Mr. Bosco's comments and just kind of make sure it's clear to everyone that if we vote in favor of Resolution 137-21, it obviously makes the planning board's decision not binding on the ALJ. So when ALJ Mayhew looks at this, if he denies this plan, in addition to other reasons he denied the plan, he can also continue to cite the conflict with the master plan as a reason as well. And yeah, I've spent some time, quite a bit of time actually, since this came before us, talking to the community, talking to our People's Council, Mr. Zimmerman, listening to both sides, the attorneys, Mr. McCann and Mr. Alderman, listening to our director of planning, talking to the planning board. So I've spent a fair amount of time really diving into this. And this road, if there's one road beside my own that I think I know really, really well, it's this road, because at the end of the road, we have a neighbor space project that we worked on at the very beginning of the county council term 11 years ago, just trying to protect some acreage back there and keep it open space. So I've probably been down this road, no exaggeration, dozens of times, either walking or biking or riding. And so after a lot of thought and with great respect to our Department of Planning and our Director of Planning, and to all sides, and good people on all sides of this, and I've concluded that I am siding and giving the benefit of the doubt to the community. I actually agree with Mr. Zimmerman, and I agree with Judge Mayhew, and I do find that this is a conflict with the master plan. And if this isn't a conflict with the master plan, then I've yet to see one, and I don't think we will ever see one. So that's my position. I ask my colleagues for their support, and I really do also want to thank my colleagues for the time and all of your opinions and thoughts. We've had bunch of conversations on this. So I think this is something that we've all really wrestled with, we've all looked at. So I do appreciate my county council colleagues' consideration, and I ask for your support. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Councilman Quirk. We certainly had a lot of conversation and a lot of back and forth, and I think everyone walked away. I would like to think that everyone walked away having had an opportunity to express their thoughts on this issue. Are any other questions or comments from any of the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Let's go right ahead, Councilman Gatoki.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge the good work that my colleague Councilman Quirk did on this, and recognizing the challenges here and reaching out to the appropriate parties. This perhaps is one of the most difficult issues we've had come before us during the years I've been on the council. And I think it's really important to reach out to all the stakeholders. I think Councilman Quirk did an excellent job at reaching out and having good conversation with each of the stakeholders. And I will just say that where Councilman Quirk is leaning has at least helped me make my decision on this. And so I think you did good work, Councilman Quirk, on engaging
Thank you.
all the stakeholders, especially because this is impactful not only to your community, but the rest of the county. Good job.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to echo my colleagues' comments. Councilman Quirk, I know you've given this a lot of thought, and this is not an easy vote, quite frankly. The master plan is important. We respect the primacy of this document, but a master plan is a countywide blueprint, and I would just say to community leaders, there are going to be times when you may disagree with the master plan. For example, the master plan currently recommends student housing in a part of Towson where some community leaders did not agree with that. So, you know, there's times that I think community leaders shouldn't necessarily hang their hats on the master plan. It's designed to take a very general approach, a very countywide approach, but it's an important document, and whatever we decide tonight is going to have an impact. But I again want to thank Councilman Quirk. I know you gave this a lot of thought, and I also do respect the Department of Planning staff and their recommendations, and the Planning Board. They do a lot of good work. They put a lot of time into their efforts, and I do want to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. Any additional questions or comments from any of them?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman.
I'd like to put our council secretary, Mr. Bostwick, on the spot a little bit here. This has not been an easy issue for us to decipher and to work through, and I think my colleagues have already expressed the fact that Councilman Quirk has worked through this issue both with the community and the various stakeholders. But I'd like Mr. Bostwick to explain how the decision that we make tonight doesn't necessarily set a precedent for every time that the ALJ has a dispute, that the issue ends up for the council, because I think we're all conscious of the language in the charter that says that once something becomes judicial, the council is out of the equation and it becomes part of a judicial decision. And if Mr. Bostwick could expound on that aspect of this issue and why it's a little bit different, I would appreciate if he could add his thoughts on that.
I can certainly do that, Mr. Crandall. The reason that whatever action you all take this evening, obviously it is going to have some effect, because either you're going to pass the resolution, in which case the planning board's decision on the master plan issue is overruled and therefore not binding on the hearing officer, or the resolution will fail, in which case the planning board's decision is binding and must be incorporated into the hearing officer's ultimate order in this case, in the Davis Farms case. So there is obviously value in the decision that you make one way or another, but I think it's important, and the statute contemplates that. The statute that I read says almost that exact thing, but it's important to keep in mind that every case rises and falls on its own facts and its own merits. And so, just because you may or may not overrule the planning board in this instance, that's not to say, A, this will ever come before you again, and B, if it does, you'll make the same decision, because you'll be presented, if it does, you'll be presented with different facts and a different scenario, and you'll be asked to weigh in that circumstance. So I wouldn't say I would hope the floodgates don't open up on master plan issues, because the planning department and the planning board take the master plan very seriously. This is the document the planning department puts together. So I think they look at it as their Bible of sorts, but it takes on different significance in different cases. So I think the answer, hopefully, to your question is, I don't think this decision will have precedential value, because A, you may not, in the 10 years plus I've been with the council, this is the first time you've ever been kind of injected into a case because of the way that statute reads, but you had not been before. So, and I don't know if you will again, and if you do, you'll have this experience to draw on. But I would say that your decision is limited to this particular situation. And then finally, if I may, just real quick, I would also say to keep in mind, ultimate approval still rests with the administrative law judge acting as the hearing officer. In this case, Judge Mayhew, made the decision that he made to deny approval. And when the case goes back to him after the decision that you make in this resolution, he will ultimately be tasked with making that decision again, or at least issuing a revised order reflecting whatever happens here tonight. So it's really still resting with the ALJ. And I say that because I don't think that the council should feel that it is being put in a bad position of either, approving or denying a development, because you're not, that's not what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And just
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yeah.
And I guess for the record, there were still other issues that was cited by the administrative law, correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Are there any more questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve resolution 137-21?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on resolution 137-21.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Resolution 137-21 is passed. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chairman, next is resolution 138-21. This is a resolution for the council to consider the adoption of the Pikesville Revitalization Action Plan, Master Plan 2020, for introduction only this evening.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next is resolution 139-21. This is also a resolution for the council to consider adoption of the Baltimore County multi-hazard mitigation plan for introduction only this evening.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, is there any further business to come before the council this evening?
There is no further business, Mr. Chair.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. And I understand there is no speakers. Is that correct, Ms. Castro?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, everyone. Have yourself a good night. Be safe and God bless.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
you.
Thank